HooHooHooRobin.
We couldn't be happier. Joe Rogan in studio.
Yes,
Our
finally.
pal. It's been a while. And Ari,
Finally.
of course. To your right there,
What's
Joe.
going on, sir? Ari.
Powerful Mr. Shafir.
Yes.
I was telling Joe before he came in, I feel like I know what he's up to because of this new world we live in with the Twitter and the podcasting and everything else.
I follow the Joe. Got to follow the Joe Rogan.
Joe's got the best podcast out there.
He does get some good. I like your tweets where I look and go, wow, he is up really late, man. and they're usually the most abstract ones when you've been up really late. Because that's another thing. People know what time you're going to bed. Yeah. It's not just what you're saying. They know where you are, what you're doing at any given moment, which is kind of odd. So, because we were talking about this, I get a lot of this shit. If I tweet something at 1 a.m., I'll get like, go to bed, you got a show to do. What is it, worse stuff tomorrow? You should get some sleep. I'm like, you don't know that I slept from 10:30 in the morning till 8 at night. I'm fine. Don't worry about, me getting enough sleep. But yours where, you're just, he's pontificating about some new mushroom, and it's 3 a.m. California time.
You can tell when I get out of the tank, too. Those are the really weird tweets.
Oh, out of the tank, yeah?
Out of the tank, yeah, because usually I'm too high when I get in the tank to really tweet anything coherent.
Yeah.
So I get in and then level out and think things over and then get out with a bathrobe on covered in salt from the Epsom tank.
Yeah.
And then I start surfing. And that's the real weird tweets.
He starts checking out some shit, finding stories deep in the internet, and then it's like, oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, if you see something about somebody living in the Amazon, and it's like 1 in the morning, I'm high as fuck.
I'm the spider.
Guarantee you.
No shit, man.
Hey, we should get the plug out right away. Joe Rogan's going to be at the Gotham Comedy Club. Oh, fuck it. All right, then we don't have to do any business.
Changed everything. I don't have to do any more business anymore.
That's
right.
right.
It's way different now.
It's
real easy.
We got to ask Joe about the supermoon. He knows that shit.
Yep.
We were trying to figure it out on our own right before you got here.
Well, we know that the moon affects tides, and it's closer than it's ever been before, or as close as it ever gets, 220,000 miles out, as opposed to, like, at its peak, I think it gets like 250-something.
How long ago was that? Like, what's the time difference?
It's a good question.
Millions of years, or like a couple years?
No, well, it goes in cycles, I mean, it's not, I don't know. It's just really close.
Let's say a few thousand years ago this happened.
The moon has
can't say that anymore.
Orbit.
You used to be able to talk shit like that. Just pull a figure out of your ass.
Nah, whatever.
Yeah.
Now people get online and they're like,
they get mad at you.
Full of shit.
And we say something on the podcast, because podcast is just like the radio. It's a conversation.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're not entirely accurate. You're just trying to remember. Like, what the fuck did that guy say? That's exactly not what he said. 100 Twitters from Johnny No Right.
You can't really paraphrase anymore. It's like, no, here's the exact quote, dick.
It's good and it's bad, It's good.
Yeah.
It's good that you can get that information right ahead,
It's true.
You got any ridiculous haters that are just like that? Just
I don't even bother them anymore. I don't even respond to haters. I used to respond and like fuck you, go back and forth.
That's kind of what I was getting at, how you respond to them, and it's kind of the point where you just gotta not even deal.
Yeah, I just completely ignore them. I block them, ignore them.
Yeah.
It's pointless. I mean, if someone has a legitimate criticism or something they have a point, and it's not like douchey, I totally respond.
Or if it's a joke like that, I when people goof on me or something, or it's a joke, that's fine. I don't care
retweet
about
a good one.
Yeah. Retweet the good insults.
You can tell, sort of, even though it's in text, you can tell when someone's being a shithead and someone's just
the
funny.
difference.
Yeah.
And then just the other day, somebody tweeted me or actually got through me on Facebook or something, because it wasn't tweet because I had blocked them. And he goes, dude, what the fuck? He goes, I was just making a joke and you blocked me. And then he copied a picture of his the tweet he gave me, and I read it, and there was no sense of sarcasm or anything. He's like, I was just kidding. And I was like, asshole, out of all the tweets I get, how am I supposed to pick yours out as the one that is just like, oh, I was being sarcastic, when there wasn't a hint of sarcasm? It's like, of course I'm going to block you.
Yeah.
Like fuck you, I hate you.
Yeah, that was pretty much it. It's like, dude, you suck. It was something about my fucking webcast sucks and this, and it's like, all right, well then fuck you.
How's that
I'm blocking you.
Joke?
It's like, dude, I was kidding.
People are
really?
just happy to get your attention, though, and a lot of times that's the only way they can get it. If they say, Anthony, you fucking rock, you ignore that.
Yeah, you don't.
You get 100 of those.
That's true. I do go off on my drunken retweets and follows, though, sometimes. Like, if it's Saturday, 3 in the morning, if I'm putting down a few, people just go, and retweet. I'm like, all right. And then once you do it once, it's just like, bam, a bunch of it, and I'm going, bam, 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 just hitting retweet everybody.
You lose 100 followers.
Oh, yeah. They're just pissed off that they're reading through my dribble.
You watch your numbers go down if you're tweeting too much.
Oh, I know. I don't care about that, though.
And then
it's like the stock market.
And then
it
you
goes
chill
up
for
and
a day
down.
or two, and the numbers go back up.
Yeah, that's all.
You got to find that balance. Hey, the supermoon, what is it supposed to do, though?
Well, it's just they're not exactly sure. Some people think it's going to cause cataclysmic disasters.
Yeah.
Tsunami?
It's close to the Earth.
What, earthquakes, tsunami, things like that?
There's another one in
Shouldn't they
Chile.
happen already?
There was another earthquake.
Boulder Dash.
A small one in Chile just happened.
Yeah.
What's small these days?
5.5.
Yeah, now 5 is like, come on.
Suck it up,
shit.
losers.
Now
Unless
that
high
we've
8.
seen a 9.
Yeah.
Officially a 9.0, right?
Apparently, there was a 9.2 in Alaska in the 60s, and the aftershocks hit San Francisco. You could feel it all over San
Really, yeah.
Francisco.
Wow. And nothing was going on in Alaska, especially in the 60s.
9.2.
Yeah, 9.2.
Lasted for 4 minutes.
Ugh.
This one lasted for 5 minutes, which
5
scares the
minutes
fuck out of me.
Could you imagine that? Like, because you think it's just going to rock you a little, and then, all right, stop. After, you know what a long 5 minutes is when you're in an earthquake? That isn't 5 minutes of fucking getting your dick sucked.
No.
You know, that's a hard 5 minutes,
That's
man.
like 5 minutes of Brock Lesnar on top of you, hammer smashing you in the head.
It's like,
A full
how long?
round.
This has only been, what, a minute and a half?
I got 3.5 of this to go.
I still got this.
What
Shit.
scares the fuck out of me is these nuclear reactors. That's what scares the fuck out of me.
Yeah,
they didn't know you can't just shut them off.
You can't shut them off.
That's the most ridiculous shit ever. When the power goes out, you have 8 hours of backup.
Once
so you
you
basically
yeah.
have enough to get on a plane and get the fuck away from there. That's about it.
Once you start it, that's it. How we thought this up, and it was going to be okay. It's like, yeah, we start this reaction, and we could vary it to a certain extent, but we can't really shut it completely off. Oh, and by the way, if it isn't cooled all the time, it's really going to fuck things up.
Earth will die.
It melts down and eats a hole through the planet, and everyone dies.
Yeah. It's like
It'll hit water eventually, right?
Oh yeah, and fucking send a
it'll hit
plume
lava.
of death up.
Yeah, and the gas will kill every bird in the sky.
Yeah, instead of the few that have been dropping dead. What do you make of this, Joe? You're
Joe tweets about this a lot.
Yeah.
I try to be as objective as possible, but the last thing you want to do is be the guy that says, there's no apocalypse while the earth is cracking between your two legs and spreading them apart and Satan sticking a pitchfork up your asshole. At a certain point in time, when enough fucking things happen, you got to go, wow, is the apocalypse just really slow?
Yeah, maybe it's a slow thing that takes some time. You always think it's just going to be a quick action movie thing, but it's a slow kind of, disasters get a little worse, the hurricanes get a little bigger.
It's fun to watch, though.
Yeah, front row seat.
Is it that? And the other part of me goes, well, maybe is it just that we have more access to information,
That's
so
what I
we're
think.
getting all these
I think part
stories?
of it is that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like there's a lot more shit happening.
10,000 people died, right, in Japan? That's a lot of people.
More than that.
Oh, look at that. They're saying, look at the evacuation area, 13 miles. 50 miles, no
U.S. military without special clearance.
Oh, God. Turns to U.S. for help. What do you want us to do? Drop a bomb on the nuclear problem?
Yeah, just blow it up.
This is scary shit, man.
That's some, what they did at Chernobyl, before, they didn't tell anybody around the area, so they ended up with some problems there, some issues. But they just wound up dumping concrete and sand and actually lead. They took fucking lead, giant bars of lead, helicopter loads, and just dumped it on top of this pile. And it looks like that's what they're going to have to do with this shit.
In Chernobyl, they did that?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's still eating through all that shit.
Oh, it's still underneath all that. It's still glowing.
Well, it's got a half-life of like 20,000 years.
20,000 years, so it's just sitting there.
Well, we were talking about, Ant and I were talking about this off the air. There's an article that I was reading that was saying that some of the uranium that they used was plutonium-enriched uranium that's 2 million times more radioactive. Now, I don't know if this is true. I just read it on one science site. I have to go back and see if there's other ones. But that's fucking terrifying. 2 million times more radioactive than the normal shit.
That's
what the fuck.
And why are they using that in Japan?
Apparently, it works really good. It gives you a lot of energy.
I guess it does. You would think, though, because they're pretty anti-nukes over there.
Yeah.
Considering they had a little issue back in World War II. But, I don't know. They have a lot of nuclear power. And this plant is just really fucked.
It seems like nuclear power is almost like a car that they figured out how to get really fast, but never figured out how to stop.
How to stop it. Yeah.
They weren't ready yet. They weren't ready to put it on the road. They're like, we got an engine, let's just go.
Let's just go with
How
this.
are we gonna
go with
stop
it.
this?
Just keep driving it around the track. We don't know what to do.
A rock attached to a rope. We're going to throw it out the window.
And hopefully that stops.
It's like some Fred Flintstone shit. You can turn it on, but you can't turn it off. What the fuck, man?
It really is amazing.
That is kind of creepy. They didn't figure that part out.
Well, not only that, it really hasn't really progressed. I mean, they haven't come up with any much better alternative.
Right.
No,
there should be a way to cool it down within a day.
Yeah.
About ever. How about ever? For the rest of time.
Forever.
Yeah. Well, long past, think about 5,000 years ago was the dawn of civilization. Okay, that was the first written language, the first mathematics. It's 5,000-6,000 years ago. This shit will be radioactive way longer than that.
Way longer than we've even been. An intelligent.
Way longer.
Leaving history. And,
exactly.
What is all that shit that they bury in Nevada when they have they make deals so that they can fucking have casinos and hookers to let them fucking do tests and bury shit in the mountains.
All those spent nuclear rods, they got to go somewhere. And they load them up in a truck, and in the middle of the night, they fucking drive them to the Mojave Desert and Nevada and whatnot, and bury them underground.
What a crazy idea!
Just hope the record of where that is kept for some length of time.
Yeah, because if society falls apart, if we have some sort of a massive, super volcano eruption, half the population dies. No one's gonna know about that shit.
And the other half has to rebuild, and then
they rebuild there randomly.
Yeah, and it's like an 1800s style life that we have, and then people just go, let's start digging. I think there might be something good here. And they hit this shit.
Let's put our well here. This is where I get water from.
It's getting very hot as we're digging. Stand this.
It's just me.
Why are clumps of your hair falling out?
People are so goddamn ridiculous.
That's
so ridiculous.
We reach back, and like I said, we haven't really improved upon the basic gist of the reactor or the automobile for the most part. It's still an internal combustion engine. It's better economy-wise, and they look cool and everything, but it's still a piston banging up and down in a cylinder. Once we find something that works, we leave it until we run out of what that shit works on.
Yeah.
And then we have to come up with something. That's why a viable alternative to fossil fuel, it ain't going to happen until that last drop of fuel is gone. And then the next week, we'll have something great that'll work. Because we've always done that through history.
Yeah.
We find
need to
shit.
Be forced into a
we
corner.
need to be forced. We're lazy motherfuckers for the most part. And until we turn on the water and it doesn't come out, then it's like, where's the water? All right, we got to work on this. And then the next day, see, the water's back.
The laziness is part of it, but also, the fossil fuel and the companies that own it and sell it, they have so much power.
Oh, yeah.
There's so much power as far as getting things pushed through and
You can't.
Yeah, they're the guys that they can make politicians do things.
Yeah.
They mold the world.
Between them and Monsanto with their genetically modified food, and the Monsanto thing is the scariest thing about Monsanto is there was a lot of speculation that they bought Blackwater. Jesus. It can't be proved.
Wow, that's an interesting.
Blackwater was sold, and it was sold to a third party, and they know that Monsanto was interested into it. Now, why
would Monsanto need a fucking what amounts to mercenaries security squad?
Countries. They're selling their genetically modified foods into other countries. They're trying to do the same bulldog tactics that they use on American farmers. If you don't know what it is, essentially Monsanto comes up with genetically modified food and a genetically modified seed that when farmers buy it, the shit gets in the air and it cross-pollinates into other people's farms. Guys that didn't buy their seed. Well, they come over and say, well, you have our shit and we're going to sue you for it. And then they sue these poor farmers and they fuck them over.
Sue the bees, motherfucker.
Yeah.
It wasn't me.
There's something to be said for some genetically modified foods. It's easier to grow. More people, can have food. Less people starve.
You see corn on the cob these days, Joe? It's fantastic. It's giant, golden. Every fucking little kernel is perfect. Yeah. You know what corn looked like back in the 60s and 50s? It was awful.
Maize. You remember that shit the Indians used to have to hang on our door?
All different kinds of colors and shit that you put on the door.
Homeless teeth.
It looked like rotting teeth. Fuck.
Now it's just this big, and chicken breasts. Holy fuck!
Well, one of the things
hormones?
about WikiLeaks was that WikiLeaks released cables showing how much influence the genetically modified food people have in foreign countries, and how the United States is aiding them, and the government is actually pushing these things through, and even imposing sanctions on countries that don't accept this stuff.
Wow.
So if you hear about them now buying, supposedly, allegedly buying Blackwater, like they have their own fucking army, and they have these evil seeds that they're selling everywhere.
And is it just to sell their seeds?
Yeah,
like
to fucking run all the food. They want to run everything.
Yeah, that's a big business.
Yeah,
I was just wondering what the end game is in
controlling
their
the world's food supply.
Controlling the world's food.
That's a big business.
They patent pigs. They patent pig parts. I mean, they literally patent everything they could possibly patent. They want to be able to control the entire population of pigs and corn.
And what are they
everything.
going to do after that?
They
Are they
just
going to
fucking
enslave
run
everyone?
shit. They're gonna whip their dicks out and slap farmers in the face. They're running things.
Would it be interesting if some of that genetically altered food has something in there that they can, from some remote location, just shut off, and your entire farm dies? Like they just some kind of
that's the movie
key,
version of it.
Yeah, some kind of key where it's like, well, this guy, we need some famine in this area. Click, bam, instant famine. That is, I mean, come on, why not?
Are you smoking pot?
It's possible.
No, it just, you get close to Joe and you start having that.
That would be the movie version.
a contact buzz.
Thing. It's a contact buzz.
It was giving us a contact buzz. Joe, you tweeted a fucking video of how small we are in the universe.
Oh, yeah.
I'm still
Did you watch
freaked.
that?
Yeah, I retweeted that fucking thing.
With the music? It's the one with the fucking, dramatic.
Yeah, we put it on our Facebook. We're giving you credit, I hope, because that's...
Man, if that doesn't just make you want to jump out a window.
I didn't realize...
It's
so small.
I didn't realize objects got that big in the universe.
Well, how about the one where you get to the largest sun, and if you were flying over it in a jet, it would take thousands of years
just to make one
circle.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's the largest star.
You see that, Ari?
And it's so big. You still can't comprehend it. Yeah. As it's going on, as this video's playing, you can't wrap your mind around size that big, because it just... the Earth becomes invisible.
Yeah, you can't wrap your head around it.
You can't, and that's nothing compared to the entirety of it.
Yeah.
The really crazy thing that the quantum physicists have theorized lately is that inside every black hole is another universe. They know that inside every galaxy is a supermassive black hole that's 0.5% of the mass of the galaxy. The bigger the galaxy, the bigger the black hole. But now they believe that inside every one of those black holes is another universe with hundreds of billions of galaxies, each with black holes, each with hundreds of billions of galaxies inside of them, each with black holes. Each infinite forever.
Infinite is very hard to kind of wrap your mind around, and like you could just go off and not stop.
It seems like there's a wall somewhere, or you come back to the first point at some point. Like, you can't
there's got to be something weird.
They're playing it now on this little video.
And
it's just
and it just keeps going. Wow, that's big.
You think Jupiter is huge, and then it's then the sun pops out.
Our sun's a little bitch.
The sun is a little bitch.
Gets owned by these fucking things.
Sirius A just dwarfs the sun, and then just keeps going and going and
now
going.
You can't even
trying
see
to wrap your head around the size of the universe is trying to pick up the ocean in your hands. Like
it's just
you're not
even a piece of it.
You don't have it. It's not going to happen.
So of course there's life out there. Of course there is.
With infinite, there has to be.
There has
With
to
no
be.
end ever, there has to be.
Well, I think we have a very narrow idea of what life is.
Yeah.
The idea is just biological, carbon-based life. That's where the only information is being traveled back and forth between participants. I think it's really possible that there's some other forms of life that we can't even tune into. Life easily could be like a radio. There could be a full spectrum.
Right.
And we just can't tune into whatever their life is. It's like it could be. They've theorized about light-based life.
Right. So how would you communicate with some light-based life form that you don't even know existed if you passed right through it?
Right, or it could be right here with us right now in another dimension, just like another radio station that you can't tune into. You sit here, tune into 103.5, and 107's right there. You just don't get it somehow.
Yeah, you don't get it.
It's right there, same radio. You could get it if you just turn this knob, but you don't get it. It's right here all around you all the time. Crazy music.
Yeah, crazy music. It's all around you.
We were doing dick jokes 20 minutes ago.
Well, you know,
Holy shit.
when Christianity, when they had to convert pagans and when they had to convert the Irish, is when they invented, St. Patrick actually invented the idea of purgatory. And the reason why they had to invent the idea of purgatory, because the Irish, who were intoxicating, obsessed with being intoxicated, and they have a long history of taking mushrooms and, and believing in elves and fairies, they had to convince people that the land of Fae was purgatory. They had to say, well, yeah, it's another thing. It's a new thing. And they had to, that's how they brought them into Christianity, by convincing them that there's this land around you filled with souls all the time. Right. That's an ancient Irish belief.
It's, we were talking about religion sometime last week.
We had a good discussion about it.
Yeah, it just gets to the point, though, where some people don't want to hear anything different than what they believe in, as far as the, textbook Bible religion of Catholicism and Judaism. They have theirs. And you start going off and talking about the fact that, this book was written a long time ago and not by God. It's by people. You know how if you try to tell somebody something and they tell somebody else something, it gets all fucked up in the translation. So, and they're like, no.
Well, that's in one language. I mean, look, Ari studied the Torah for years. Ari was seriously religious at one point in time. Lived in Israel
for a couple of years, and that was an oral tradition for a long time. Just hoping nobody fucked up.
No
the
one fucked it up as they went along history, telling the story.
Well, not only that, the original Bible, the ancient Hebrew version of the Bible, trying to decipher it is it's code. It's just numbers and letters are the same thing. Like the letter A is also the number 1.
Oh shit!
So words have numerical value, like love and God have the same numerical value, and all that is lost when you translate it to Latin and Greek.
Yeah.
And also, they had an editor, right? There were other stories.
Oh, sure. But when the New Testament, when you go with the New Testament, there's a lot of shit, a huge amount.
I want all the info, not just part of the info.
It doesn't matter. It's all written by people. It's so obvious.
Yeah.
It's really obvious. The really interesting thing, a lot of scholars have been talking lately about one of the things about Moses, and that they believe that Moses was doing psychedelic drugs. And that the whole thing about Moses and the burning bush.
Yeah.
Well, one of they believe the burning bush was the acacia tree, and the acacia bush or tree or whatever the fuck it is rich in dimethyltryptamine, a really potent psychedelic. So the idea of this burning bush being God, literally, it could have been God.
He might have,
literally. I mean, he might have had these crazy psychedelic experiences. That's what a lot of people believe, that all of these ancient religious stories, the roots of them are all in someone finding something that makes you trip balls.
There were plenty of narcotics just growing around. I mean,
still are, yeah.
Yeah, there still are. No laws against them back then.
Yeah.
You just chew on a leaf, and all of a sudden you have this vision. You write it down, and people aren't just going to go, that guy was fucked up. You go, really? You did? You saw God? Put it in this book.
Well, they used to try to hide them from their enemies. The
hide
book,
the psychedelics?
Yeah. The book, The Sacred Mushroom and the Cross, is by a guy that was one of the scholars who was the main guys of deciphering the Dead Sea Scrolls, this dude named John Marco Allegro. And he was the only one in the entire Dead Sea Scroll deciphering committee that was an agnostic. He started out, he was an ordained minister, but as he was studying theology, he's like, well, this is all horseshit. So he starts studying it, and he got into this Dead Sea Scrolls, which is 1,000 years older than the oldest version of the Bible. It's old as fuck. Written on animal skins in Aramaic, okay? He deciphers this shit for 14 years and decides that the entire Christian religion is a massive misunderstanding. What it's really about is the consumption of psychedelic mushrooms and fertility cults and fertility rituals. And the whole religion was based on these stories were meant to hide all the knowledge that they learned from taking mushrooms.
Holy shit.
It makes sense.
So
it makes a lot more sense.
And they create metaphors intentionally to try to hide it?
Mm-hmm. Huh. He traces back the ancient word Christ to an ancient Sumerian word that means a mushroom covered in God's semen. Yeah.
Try selling that to the Catholic Church. Good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck changing everybody's mind there.
Yeah.
But you bring this up, you piss off a lot of people.
Yeah, but they pissed themselves off. You're being silly. Yeah. Why would you believe that other people are full of shit and that story sucks? It's that simple. If it came out today, if the Bible came out today and just the story of Adam and Eve, you would go, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah,
so they made kids and their kids just started fucking each other? Like, what are you talking about? They were the only two people and their kids fucked each other, or they fucked their kids and make more kids?
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about? And then what happens? Noah comes along and then we start all over again. Noah fucks his kids because he's the only guy left. So that's only 6,000 years ago that this has happened?
A lot of kid fucking going on.
Well, the scary thing is 50% of the population of this country in a recent Gallup poll believes that the Earth is less than 10,000 years old.
It's up to 50%.
That's crazy shit. I mean, how do you just deny the science that is behind the fact that this Earth is a lot older than that?
Said, no.
Confirmation bias. You just go on enough websites that say that the science is bullshit. You can find 100 dudes on YouTube that would tell you that evolution is a myth and that there's science behind it not being real. You can find hundreds of guys. And if you just only read their stuff and listen to their stuff, you'll start believing it.
When I see those paintings that they have in books of Jesus with a dinosaur, they show like Jesus lying peacefully with a velociraptor.
There's an ancient fresco in France with Jesus, with Adam and Eve surrounded by giant mushrooms.
Really?
Yeah, and it's ancient. It's like 1,000 years old. And there's a ton of those. There's a bunch of ancient religious artwork that deals with mushrooms. A lot of it.
Let's go to the phones because Tom, very upset. Tom in St. Louis. Tom in St. Louis. I'd be upset if I lived in St. Louis, too. What's up, Tom?
Hey guys, how you doing?
What's going on, buddy?
Gotcha, go.
Hey, Joe, I'm a big fan of you, but your information on Monsanto is way off.
What's off about it?
Well, you're spewing stuff that you've probably read on the internet or something like that.
I watched a bunch of documentaries too. I watched the Monsanto documentary, Food Inc. Well, tell me what I'm wrong about.
By the way, this is Tom Monsanto calling.
Probably King Corn as well, I'm guessing.
Right. What are we wrong about?
Well, the one thing you said, you first of all, you talked about how they spread the genetics across the country, and then.
No. That's not what I said. I said farmers that are next to people that have genetically modified food that gets called cross-pollination. And those farmers have been sued. That's a fact.
It's actually happened for one person. It happened for a guy by the name of Percy Schmeiser out of Canada. He got sued over having canola.
It's only one guy?
Yeah, that was his claim. That Monsanto's genetics wound up in his field because of the birds. That was man's.
Man, are you sure this is only one person? I don't have a computer in front of me so I can look this up. But this is the only person they've ever had a lawsuit with? Is this one guy?
But it's definitely not the only person they've ever had a lawsuit with. But Percy Schmeiser is the main guy behind it and I believe it's in Food Inc. They bring him in, and possibly King Corn as well, but I can't tell you for sure on that.
All right, well, what's your beef? What is your issue? You think Monsanto's good?
I think they do I think they do some wonderful things.
Do you work for them?
I mean, yeah, I do.
You do? Okay. Yeah, you do. Get the fuck out of here, you creep. You genetically modified creep.
He's a little biased,
Listen,
I think.
you're eating some bad potatoes that are making your dick fall off in 100 years. There's going to be no dicks. 100 years from now, humans will have no penises.
By the way, I loved Journey Through Inner Space. Monsanto put it on at Disney. It was fantastic years ago. Remember, you would shrink and.
What do you do for them, dude?
The little ray. Oh, Monsanto used to fucking sponsor this big thing. Brought to you by Monsanto. Voyage Through Inner Space.
Oh, that weird thing where you would watch like the human body, like the bloodstream.
And you'd shrink.
Yeah.
You'd go in the little car and you'd go in. It's like, oh,
you get to go through the human body.
And a microscope, and they'd show some mechanical eye.
Is he still on the line?
Yeah, Tom.
If the company fires you, are you willing to spill the beans on the Opie and Anthony show about how things really go down?
Yeah.
Can we count on you?
In accounting.
Because you know there's some evil shit. When you're trying to patent pigs, you're an evil fucking company, pal.
Well, I don't know if I totally agree with that because I mean, first of all, they don't own their pig line anymore. They
listen, fella, you're trying to patent pigs, okay? That's some creepy god shit. You can't patent nature.
Wait a minute, Joe. If you do the research to come up with the technology,
you just said a bunch of nonsense.
If you do the research for the technology, for instance, behind the corn, behind the pig development, if you do the research to come up with the genetics that make the corn better, shouldn't you be able to take advantage of that research?
You don't think that there should be a line that you can't cross where you can't patent life?
Apricots, right?
You really think that it's okay to patent life because you guys have done the research? That's horseshit, pal. If you want to do something like that, you should be able to profit from it and it should benefit mankind, but no, you can't fucking own it. All right, you can't own life. You can't sue people for having your life. You don't own life.
What is the reason behind your thinking there? Because
because I don't want creepy cunt companies owning the world like that. It seems kind of fucked up, don't you think? Were there companies, multinational conglomerates that own life?
But they do the research behind the genetics. I mean, it's not like it's not me.
You don't see any problem with that? Do you have a problem with them owning Blackwater? What if that's true? Is that true? Can you tell us? You work for the company.
Yeah.
That was the first time I'd ever heard that when you said that.
It's online, fella. If you're going to be the guy that's running around Johnny Save-A-Ho defending Monsanto.
I haven't seen anybody in black coats and black sunglasses.
You might want to look in your back window right now because they're probably monitoring you because of this call.
Someone's got crosshairs on the back of his head right now waiting for him to say one word.
Right now you're being a good soldier, sir.
What do you do there for Monsanto?
I work in let's just say I work in finance.
Finance.
Oh, so you're a bean counter.
Yeah, you're
a genetically modified bean counter.
Yeah, and you shut down farmers, go down and steal all their fucking money because they have one ear of corn that's mutant Frankenstein corn. All right, buddy. It was good talking to you, brother.
That's it.
Take care, Joe.
Hey,
the second he hangs up, there's one crack of a gunshot, and the back of his head explodes.
Bammo. Hey, someone tweeted the Adam and Eve mushroom fresco.
Yeah, isn't that strange? That's
shit. And that's from 1291 AD.
Yeah.
I'll retweet this thing. That's creepy. That looks like fucking mushrooms to me.
Yeah, it is mushrooms. There's a lot of ancient
and then there's
religious
a few
artwork that has to do with mushrooms.
Here's another one.
Yeah.
From the same tweet.
You see that red and the white? That's the Amanita muscaria mushroom. That's also the colors of Santa Claus.
And so they knew about that in 1200s?
Oh, yeah. We've lost a lot of that information.
That's
because
from
people don't
1192
talk
AD.
about it now.
1192 AD, and then you got this one. Oh, shit, I just lost it.
Oh,
whatever, I'll find it again. Yeah, but
there's a lot of that.
Wow, I learned something new today. I didn't know.
There's a guy named Jack Herer that was this big hemp activist that was writing a book about it before he died, but his book was all about ancient religious artwork and how much of it had to do with psychedelic drugs.
And what, they just bury this stuff? Because you don't really see it anymore.
Well, you do see some of it is also in, even in ancient Catholic stuff. Like if you see some of their artwork, like you see the pine cone all the time in ancient Catholic, like in ancient Catholicism and Christianity. That pine cone represents the pineal gland, and that represents the gland that produces dimethyltryptamine and psychedelic drugs. And there's a lot of the doorways that are shaped like mushrooms, and that's supposed to be symbolic.
Jesus, fucked up.
Yeah, it makes sense. But the idea behind the sacred mushroom and the cross was that all these religious people hid all this information, and that it also was hidden by the bishops and by the higher echelons of the church would hide it from the peasants because they didn't want them becoming enlightened.
Right, yeah.
The original halos, the original halo wasn't a circle like on the top of your head like a hula hoop. It was a mushroom cap, like the behind your head was a mushroom cap.
I remember seeing some of those, like
literally with the spines like a mushroom.
Yeah.
Like that was because you were supposed to be holy. You were fucked up on shrooms and you saw some things.
So fucked up.
You were connected. You were connected to God.
Everything I know is wrong. Here's one from
everything you know is a lie.
22th century BC.
Yeah, there's so much of it. There's a lot of it.
I'd never seen this shit before, Joe.
Yeah,
and the artists were aware of it. Whoever was painting these things were aware of it.
Obviously.
Yeah. Well, it was a much more commonly known thing. Especially in Europe. I mean, consuming mushrooms goes back. There's a long, long history of that.
God, they're fun.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about people that lived thousands of years ago with no knowledge of science, and all of a sudden they're starving and they stumble across these mushrooms, they eat them, and they trip their fucking balls off, and then they have these incredible experiences and rethink society, and then everybody comes closer together, and a better sense of being connected. And you go, we got to keep this from other people, and then that's where it all goes astray.
I just retweeted that Opie Radio. If you want to see the frescoes that Joe turned us all onto. Joe turns us onto some great shit.
Because they wouldn't know about why they're feeling that way.
Yeah,
they wouldn't know the science behind it. They would just know the spirituality behind why they
honestly, even
feel
to
that
this
way.
day, the science is very screwy. It's like, what is really happening with mushrooms?
So it might be some type of divine...
what it might be,
connection.
What it might be is a life form from another planet that only communicates with you by eating it.
Holy
the way you describe
little notes for you.
Joe can just fuck with you.
But why aren't you writing movies?
I don't want to write movies. Between doing the podcast and doing all the
Joe,
shit that I do.
Tell me that wouldn't be a great plot for a movie, right?
Well, there's a guy named Terence McKenna who theorized on it, that he believed that mushroom. There's a theory of panspermia. I think think that's how you say it, where life came from asteroids, and you know, there was like the controversial NASA scientists recently said that they found some, you know, evidence of
fossilized
life, which is disputed, but a lot of people believe that. I mean, we talked about that with Michio Kaku last time I was on the air, the idea of life coming from another planet.
We hung up on him right before.
I heard. I was listening. I was laughing at my ass off. It was great.
Who knew that the next day we would need him?
I love when Dr. Steve gets mad at him.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Steve just texted me.
What'd he say?
And because he's listening. He goes, the difference between Joe Rogan and Jesse Ventura is Joe Rogan's conspiracies are cool.
The government is out there. Don't deny it. You deny it was a Navy SEAL? Then shut your mouth. That thing with Little Jimmy and him was
one of the best
brilliant.
moments,
That thing won't go away.
It won't go away.
That
With your riff-raff from Rocky Horror
He was
hairdo.
exposed for being a knucklehead.
Yeah.
He was exposed for being do you deny that the government has JFK and the Warren Commission?
And we don't have
missile hit the Pentagon?
We don't have it on video, but the reason he got up and left was he was in over his head.
Yes.
He couldn't argue anymore his point.
Well, Jimmy attacked him.
But he had nothing to back it up.
Yeah.
And
What are your facts? Anything?
Huh?
Do you have any facts? Or are you just like going off?
He just goes.
From an
goes
intelligence
off.
standpoint, he got his ass kicked, and he knew it, and the only thing he could think of was to just get himself out of the situation.
He's used to
Unfortunately, we
going
don't
on-
have that on video.
He's used to going on these radio shows and TV shows where they don't challenge him. They allow him to be the eccentric.
Right.
You know, comes in with these controversial ideas. Yeah, like a hard-hitting show for him is going on The View.
Yeah,
you know, and Sherry Shepard goes, "That didn't happen. No, you're wrong." And like that's the controversy.
Well, if you want to believe it.
She also thinks the Earth is flat.
Yes,
let's not forget.
I'm sure she thinks
created
Christianity
114 years
predates
ago.
everything.
Yeah, we love playing that audio every once in a while. I want to ask Joe one thing. What set you down this road of collecting all this knowledge and thinking differently?
Well, you know,
what
being
started
being a comic, having all day.
But I mean, way before a comic, when you were growing up, what got you where you're like, you know what, I got to do my own research now.
When I was 5 years old, my father beat the fuck out of my mother in front of me. And for no reason. My mother came home with hamburger, and my dad was mad that that's what she got for dinner. So he slapped her in the head and knocked her down and just screaming. And yet my father was a very bad person. And he's a very violent guy. And I'll never forget that. Being 5 years old saying, even my own dad is a piece of shit.
Oh,
like, wow.
At 5?
At 5.
Oh, you're supposed to realize that later.
Yeah.
Damn, man.
Wow.
Well, I started.
Hamburger sucks, huh?
That started. I guess hamburger gets your ass beat. Don't bring home hamburger for dad.
Learning something.
I think, that was it. And then moving around a lot. I lived in San Francisco from the time I was 7 till I was 11, then Florida from 11 to 13, Boston from 13 to 24. There was a lot of moving, so there's a lot of being forced to be, to come up with your own opinions instead of just adopting the opinion of a group that you're hanging around
That's
with.
the fucking, that's very similar to my lifestyle.
Yeah.
Oh, God, I have the spaghetti hitting the wall story. And
My dad wasn't into throwing things except fists.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is he still around?
I don't know. I don't talk to him. I haven't talked to him since I was 7. He's got my name, too. His name's Joe Rogan.
Really?
Yeah, that's his punishment.
So what, your mom?
Punishment.
Your mom
My
obviously.
mom remarried, a great guy.
But your mom got you out of the situation, obviously.
That's why we moved to San Francisco. It's one of the reasons.
Wow.
Because I wanted to be with him, and, this is a lot of dangerous shit.
Yeah.
He was a cop, and he was a crazy guy.
Oh, really? A little high-strung?
I don't remember much of my childhood, but I remember a lot of beatings. I didn't take any, but I saw him beat the fuck out of my cousin, saw him beat the fuck out of my mom a couple of times.
Really?
Yeah, he was crazy.
Never hit you, though?
No, he loved me.
I wonder why.
Because I was nice. I was a little boy. I was a little 5-year-old.
I used to get smashed with the belt, though. I used to get the belt.
He wasn't into hitting me. He probably would eventually kick my ass.
Hey, wait till you can fight back
when
a
I
little
started
bit.
talking shit and
Oh, yeah, then you would have
learning how to
probably
wrestle, becoming a threat around the house.
Got to keep this kid down.
Young lion has
maybe
to be
like
put
12.
in his place. Yeah, I don't know. Who knows? I mean, maybe he would have never, but he liked to beat the shit out of my mom.
Wow.
So I think at an early age I had to start questioning things. I was terrified of all the possibilities. So that's probably what started it. And then when I was a comic, you have all this time in the day, especially when all you're doing is just driving to gigs at night. So you have literally 20 hours in the day to do whatever the fuck you want. And when I was probably 22 or 23, a buddy of mine gave me this book, this David Lifton book called Best Evidence, and it was all about the JFK assassination. And David Lifton was an accountant, and he was assigned to do something with the Warren Commission. And as he was writing a piece about this Warren Commission report, he literally researched the entire book and found all these inconsistencies and all these places where it contradicted itself, and realized that this was just a book that was sort of calculated to achieve a goal instead of, designed to sort of really get an accurate description of the events. And so I started reading this, and I started getting into all kinds of fucked up things, and it became a huge problem. I remember the day I got the book, I fucking bombed that night on stage, because I read the book during the day. I was in Philadelphia. I was working for Andy Scarpati in the Comedy Cabaret, and I'm in my fucking hotel all day reading this terrifying book about how the government was taken over in a coup by the CIA, and
you went up there
Kennedy and
bummed out and
totally bummed out and ate dick on stage. Then I had to come back. That was like Friday. I had to come back and redeem myself Saturday. Saturday I just beat off and watched cartoons.
Right.
Got my mojo back.
Bring yourself down a little bit.
Yeah, man. You can fucking that's the problem with guys like Alex Jones who'll tell you about the New World Order. You hang around with those guys and you're convinced that the sky's falling. Like we were talking about this before the show.
Yep.
Like, is the apocalypse here? Is it just moving really slow? Like,
that's it, because you see shit happening, and then you start thinking though, like, all right,
nothing's happening to us.
Just pick it's like this is kind of cool.
But I mean,
I'm gonna turn on the TV and just fuck around, watch dumb shows and shit like that.
You're better off.
Still there,
you can find suffering everywhere in the world if you look every day of the week and decide to suffer constantly. All you have to do is just tune into the Africa channel. Just whatever you want to just watch everything about Africa.
BET,
and you'll see people.
Right.
Wait, okay.
I don't think that's the same channel.
Oh,
You turn off that news though. It's a nice place.
Yeah, it's not bad.
It's pretty peaceful out there.
I don't watch the news.
You
don't watch the news at all.
At all. I don't bother with it at all. People are like, oh, aren't you going to die of radiation in California? I'm like, maybe.
Well, the radiation's hitting.
maybe.
We'll all die. What do you want me to do?
Radiation's hitting California today.
Is it?
Yeah, a little bit.
Is that the truth?
Well, get your pills.
Little bit.
If I'm less fertile, it's only good for me.
California though, we have built up a resistance from using cell phones all the time that I think we're going to be okay.
Going to be fine. Yeah,
it's like
slowly build up resistance.
It's like vaccines. It's like a vaccine for radiation. Cell phone and Wi-Fi. It's everywhere. You're going to be fine. Our Wi-Fi will kill that radiation. Cheap ass fucking radiation.
I know when you sit there sometimes and think how much shit is going through you when you're just sitting here. Like in the 1800s, I guess, and before, they just had whatever cosmic shit was floating around, natural stuff.
Full ozone.
Yeah, shit
Zero
like that.
holes in it.
Now, you're like, all right, now we got radio. And all those radio signals, it is radiation. It's just fucking radiation.
We're wearing radiation right now.
Going through you. Yeah, right on our head.
How do we know
we
this
put
is...
headphones on that fucking have magnets that are being fucking...
We know this is okay.
It's changing our brains. I bet it is. I bet it's rewiring our brains.
Who knows?
It's gotta be. And at any given... Just think of all the different frequencies that are being used and stuff. All those signals just fucking... permeating it.
Yeah.
Wi-Fi, cordless phone.
Yeah, there's just more being added every
GSM signal, CDMA, all combining.
Everything just... And what's that doing?
We're not going to get the tumors in our head anymore because we don't use our cell phones for phone
you're going to get like finger tumors from texting. Texting and tweeting.
Extra joints.
We should take a break. We got Joe Rogan in studio with Ari. And does this mean anything? Because this might be my tease. Bath salts.
Oh, yeah. You know
after
what that is?
After the break?
Yeah. Well,
if it's not worth bringing up.
Yeah, no, it is.
And Ari's shit-covered, deformed asshole.
Oh, yeah. We can talk about that.
That's from the podcast?
Yeah,
I missed that episode?
For the folks, Jew Clam. Google Jew Clam.
Jew Clam Uncensored.
Yeah, Jew Clam Uncensored.
What is that? You got it online?
Oh, yeah. His asshole's online.
I can't wait. All right.
And
a cheeseburger.
Is Liddell here?
Yeah.
Is he here? Beautiful.
Where the fuck is he?
He's in the office.
Oh, I'm sorry, Chuck. I didn't even see you.
Beating the fuck out of Rogan.
You're beating the shit out of somebody now.
They wouldn't let him in the St. Patrick's Day parade with his fucking green mohawk. They made him wear a hat to cover his green mohawk.
Why?
They have a no hair dye rule.
Green mohawk's against the rules.
They have a no hair dye rule.
You can't dye your hair. Yes.
No.
Yes. Reed Harris from the fucking WEC told me yesterday.
Why couldn't you dye
the fuck
ridiculous
people?
Silly.
Regulations.
Green for the St. Patrick's Day.
But everyone watching the parade is shit-faced.
Yeah.
Almost getting hit by cars, getting in fights, puking all over the place.
You can't dye your hair, though. You can't Hulk out.
That's so stupid.
Hulk out.
Oh, there it is. All right.
Oh, God.
All right, they're going to watch
Ari's butt.
That's fine.
Get ready.
We'll check it out after the break. Opie and Anthony.
I hear the music. It gets into you. I hear the music. Millions of watts. All of this low-level sound, well, it gets into you. And so I said, well, you know what? I hear the music. Bring back the music. All of this music. Well, you know what? I hear the music. And so I said to him, I said, bring back the music. And he said, excuse me. Don't put fucking words in my mouth. Don't put fucking words in my fucking mouth. Don't put fucking words in my mouth. Don't put fucking words in my mouth. And so I said to him, I said, wait a minute. I hear the music. Wait a minute. I hear millions of watts. And so I said to him, I said, you all talk a big thing. You only talk it. You don't walk it. And he said, excuse me. Don't put fucking words in my mouth. Don't put fucking words in my fucking mouth. Don't put fucking words in my mouth. Don't put fucking words in my mouth. Millions of watts going up into the ionosphere. You hear it through the front of your skull. I hear millions of watts. You hear it through the front of your skull. Robin.